What I made was good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Does it work?
Think so.
Yes! Okay. What I made was, because I made this homemade barbecue sauce, right?
Right.
For the jackfruit, and then I put that on the tempeh.
Mm-hmm.
Fried it up. So good.
Not a huge tempeh fan.
No?
No, but it hasn't been like it's not a hard and fast thing. Like I'm still open to trying different ways of making it,
Yeah. I think typically I haven't been that fond of it too. People try to get it into bacon.
Yeah.
And I never like that. No.
Yeah.
But I don't like bacon.
How do you know?
Because when I smell it, I want to gag.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also might not like smoky things.
I cannot stand smoked anything.
Right?
Yeah, I don't like it. And I used to smoke.
But it's different in your food.
Yeah.
Like I've had smoky cocktails. That's okay. In my food, no, I don't want it.
I don't know if I've had a cocktail.
Like I've had a smoky old fashioned. Nice.
What is it with you and old fashions?
Just like them. What do you mean?
Isn't that the donut that you like?
Oh, I never thought of that. I don't know. Just an old fashioned kind of person.
Yeah. Clearly.
Is there anything else old fashioned about me?
I mean, you look like right out of a period piece, as evidenced by my
By your nephew?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My nephew was looking through an art book. He's 2.5. And there was my brother-in-law basically said that my nephew was like, Janessa. And he looked at it. And it was apparently like a dinner party from the 1800s. With just like
With white people.
old school white people. Do you feel like people's faces and stuff change over time? Like sometimes I see people and I'm like, you have a very 70s face. Or like a very, like Jimmy Stewart and stuff. I feel like people don't look like that as much anymore.
Wait. Sorry. I'm just trying to get this.
What are you trying to get?
I want the channel.
The link?
Yeah. Maybe I'll just copy yours.
Yeah. I hope it works.
I hope so too. I think so. I'm not sure though.
Think what? I've totally forgotten.
I think that like different people have faces of different eras.
Yeah, that is what we were talking about.
Like my friend Nancy belongs in the 1970s.
70s.
And granted, it's like a lot based on like how she dresses.
I could see her on like a flapper dress, but maybe I don't remember her.
Oh, that would work well too. I just think she's so 70s to me. She's so like Stevie Nicks to me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not remembering well. Or... These tacky nuts are going down my shirt.
Did we ever talk about my 23andMe results?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I thought I was just boring and British, which is why I'm like, oh yeah, like I would do well in the time of Pride and Prejudice or whatever. But I'm actually a bit more interesting than that.
No.
No, I really thought it was going to be like 94% British.
Okay.
And I'd be like, great, cool, that's really exciting. But I'm also, where is it actually? All these different things.
Are you Russian?
I'm not Russian. Well,
Well, then.
I'm part Scandinavian. So I'm like 62% British and Irish, 12% French and German. That's like a decent amount.
Yeah.
3.6% Scandinavian. This is a category that I would really like them to explain better on here because they do not do a very good job. I'm 19.6% broadly Northwestern European, which is
Finnish, Swedish.
It's just like
Norwegian.
Northwestern Europeans are represented by people from as far west as Ireland, as far north as Norway, and as far east as Finland, and as far south as France.
That's what I just said. Norway, Sweden, Finland.
Yeah, so it's just like that whole area of the north. I'm from the north.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was going to be something like surprising in there.
There's nothing surprising. I mean, I'm 2% Spanish and Portuguese.
Mm.
That's slightly surprising. But
Cool.
2% isn't a whole lot.
Did you find any siblings?
No, I didn't. I'm supposed to
Lame.
find my long lost twin.
Mm-hmm.
No. But you know what's also weird on here? They tell you like, oh, chances are you've had dandruff in your life. Or chances are you have like a 51% of having blue eyes. That's crazy to me.
It is?
Yeah, dandruff?
Yeah.
It's very specific. Maybe.
There's a lot of really specific health related
It's
stuff.
like there's like, oh, chances are you have there's a word for it, like earlobes
that are joined to your head.
Yeah. Joined to your head? What do you mean?
Like that.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't have that.
Right.
I
I could have told you that just from sitting right here. You didn't have to mail anybody your DNA.
Exactly.
You do look mostly Nordic and Celtic.
Nordic, yes. I'll take that. I like that. That's more interesting to me than I thought I was just Liverpudlian. Nothing against the Liverpuds. Yeah.
I don't think anyone's just like. I don't think anyone's just like
Probably.
British.
Right. Even like if you're living in the UK, you're not just.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And anybody that I've ever spoken to about this is like, mostly Irish and blah, 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 but a little bit of this, that, and the other. So I think that's, I don't know.
Yeah. I just always wanted to be one of those people who's like, I'm half Portuguese, half Brazilian or something.
I'm sorry that that's not what turned out to be the case.
Thank you.
Why did you want to be one of those people?
Because I feel like there's a culture. We've had talks. Like I know there's white culture, whatever, but it doesn't really seem like it. And also, I'm from Canada, and Canada doesn't really have an identity, although I guess it does too.
Everywhere it does.
I just feel like it's very colorless, and I wanted, and I mean that more in like flavorless. Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
I was gonna say, like, it is.
Yeah.
A bit colorless. That's sort of the thing
That's the
too.
point. Yeah, it's without flavor.
That's only because you've been eating it your whole life.
Maybe.
You know how like smokers can't smell that their cars and clothes and everything else smells like smoke.
Right.
But when they quit smoking, suddenly their car like suddenly stinks to them, and their clothes and other people. Suddenly that thing comes back.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little bit like it's like a fish looking for water. It's like there's nothing in here.
Right.
And you see like other people's stuff easier.
Yeah. A lot of it too might just have to do with like other cultures seem like warmer, literally warmer. Like there's more there's like more touch, there's more like laughter or loudness, there's more conflict, there's more like sometimes it's like fighting, but sometimes it's just kind of a passion that seems to exist that doesn't exist in Canada, really. Or at least I don't perceive it like that.
No, it's the culture seems a bit understated and
Yeah.
relatively
Everyone
quiet.
kind of like keeps to themselves. Is afraid of
Yeah.
rocking the boat. So I've always like admired that in other people. Yeah.
Is that the way we get along? Because you're like, stop yelling. I mean, keep yelling.
Probably. I'm like, I wish I could yell, but why is she yelling?
You can yell. You can yell if you want to. I just briefly want to quickly, just one brief, quickly aside.
Yeah.
And that is, this is why I didn't think he'd read War and Peace. You know? That's why.
You know.
But you don't know shit about people.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yep.
Part of me likes that then.
Likes
Like-
what?
Like, good for you.
Likes what?
Those conflicting things in one person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have to be conflicting,
No.
but
Obviously.
yeah, I think those people are vastly more interesting. Are you? What's happening?
I'm just thinking about the picture.
You're having a very Canadian response to this. It's someone's bum. So Janessa's turned red.
But like in a pool. It's a good look. But yeah.
It's a good book.
Mhm.
I was talking about how I profile people. And first of all, I just assume that no one's read War and Peace. So to be fair,
Yeah, I make that assumption too.
that's an overarching sort of thing. And it's borne out 90% of the time. But then interacting with someone and yeah, just all the like social signifiers that we observe and interpret as being like what they signify.
Mhm.
Like I've always thought of people who have like extremely built bodies as being shallow.
Right.
Like that is a signifier to me
Mhm.
that has no basis
Mhm.
in reality.
Yeah.
It's a bit more like correlation than causation.
Ah,
You know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of people make that jump.
Yes.
I've always, I've always been afraid of vanity for that exact reason,
Mhm.
because I don't want to be seen as shallow.
Mm.
When like, a person can wear makeup and read books at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know, not being able to do one thing because of how you might look.
Is a giant waste of time.
Yeah,
And energy.
yeah,
It's a waste of your life.
definitely. You're just as much following something by not partaking in like sports or how you look. You're just as much being a follower, and like just as much. It's not like being shallow in that way, but it's not really thinking for yourself.
Are you talking about being a phony?
Being a phony.
Are we talking about
Sort of.
salad
That's a
dressing?
good way of putting it. Yeah. Like you are being a phony if
Yeah.
you're like wrapped up in looking like an intellectual.
Yes.
That's as vain as anything.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I think that frankly for me has been a little part of why I'm not like comfortable being in like kick-ass shape
Yeah.
or like more better. I don't know.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Is that I feel like I'm gonna look like an idiot or something.
Right.
Like I would see me and be like, okay.
She thinks she's so great. But you like intentionally not, like trying to look another way is just as much.
It doesn't feel effortful to me because it's just what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very complex, the allegiances we feel to things in our physical, like our bodies and how they are and what we put on them and what we like do to them.
Mhm.
It's very, very, I think, very interesting, the relationship that we have with. Like, dress is crazy.
Yeah, when I actually think about that.
There was this show, What Not to Wear or something, that maybe Queer Eye was like this. I don't know.
Wait, is What Not to Wear with Stacey London?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there's this belief there that you should, then you will know this, that there was this thing, like people would be like, I don't care, like what does it matter what I look like? Especially the people who look like slobs or whatever. Because there are all these different categories of people that get on the show.
Yeah.
And some of them have like loud clothing, some of them have like slutty clothing, some of them just wear like shitty sweatpants and whatever. And there was always this conversation where the experts or whatever were saying that it is important to express who you are in your clothing. And I always thought that was so interesting.
You should be able to express who you are in your clothing.
Now you should express who you are.
I think you already are. I think it's impossible not to be. So why not do it with something you actually like rather than a default? Like, and I do think whatever you look like even if you look like schlubby, you look like that intentionally in some way.
Yes.
You are still making a statement. Your statement is, I don't care what I look like, but that's as much of a statement as whatever else you might try.
That might be the statement.
That might be the statement. I might be like, oh, whatever, materialism is bad or whatever it is, but it's still like you're committing to like who you are in a certain way. Yeah, just it's all intentional, actually.
You know, I've dated more than one person who has essentially like 7 of the same shirts and 7 of the same pants.
Really?
Yeah. Like I know multiple, like I have literally been involved with multiple people who have just removed the whole like what should I wear thing almost entirely from their lives by having like all gray V-neck t-shirts. And every day it's just like these same jeans or this same thing and this same shirt.
Okay.
Well, I've always thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
That's a little bit what I do. I have all these clothes, but then I feel like I wear the same 5 things over and over.
That's what everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to feel bad about that.
I'm not. It wasn't. I wasn't saying that.
Okay.
I think I'm like a.
No, you were just
thing.
like,
Yeah, because part of me is like, oh, just have the 5 things then. What are you doing?
Wow. What do you mean?
I wear like 5
Have
things.
Have the capsule wardrobe?
Yes. Because I really only do ever want to wear a black tank top, a white tank top, a black t-shirt, a white t-shirt.
Yeah.
Jeans, onesies, dresses. That's it.
You say that, but actually, you wear a lot of different clothes.
Not counting workout clothes? Do you even know what my wardrobe is? Not counting workout clothes. No one does.
But I do like how
Aaron makes fun of me for a lot for that.
There was the other day you were wearing a dress.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, it's summer.
Right.
Because in summer the dresses come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is nice. It's really nice.
The reason I love dresses is because it's a single item.
Yeah.
So there's no second thought to it. It's not like, oh, here's a shirt, but now what do I wear on the bottom? Or, but now what I wear on, there's nothing. It's just like one item over.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I would actually, and that's I love that about dresses, which is why I think I may actually do well with a 5 of the same shirt and 5 of the same. But that actually might feel nice.
Maybe. I love the idea of a capsule wardrobe, and like there's all these people who claim like, oh yeah, invest in like good pieces and just wear those. And then what I've discovered about myself is I actually really like new clothes.
Yeah.
So as practical and like classic as that sounds, like I like the idea of it. I don't think I like the experience of it, actually.
Right. Which is fine because you don't have that much stuff in other arenas. You know what I mean? You're not overloaded with stuff.
Yeah.
So why not have a
I
capsule?
just think like life is short and close. Those are actually kind of amazing. You don't have to be really severe with it.
Yeah, I don't really think clothes are that amazing with this. Which is weird because I do spend a lot of time like putting things in my cart. But I think that's a whole separate
I
thing.
think you get a lot of pleasure out of clothes. Like even the workout stuff, like you have nice workout clothes.
Yes, because at some point I did realize that I was spending most of my life in them.
Yeah.
So it used to be like all black.
Yeah.
And just like 3 different things that all worked together and whatever. And then at some point I was like, the world is huge. Why can't I have weird looking leggings?
She's good. Good patterns of leggings.
I love them now. It used to be that I had all black bottoms,
Mm.
and then I'd rotate colorful tops. And now I have all crazy leggings, and I rotate solids on top.
Ah.
But you gotta have some kind of a
Oh.
system, I think.
Yes, you do.
Is that stupid?
No, it's good.
Why are you laughing?
You got of a system. It's just like I like how thought out this has gotten.
Because you can't have the kind of leggings I have. You can't have tops like that. I mean, you could, but it's a lot.
I used to be so into patterns.
Really?
I kind of miss those days. So when I was platinum blonde, I think I've talked about this. Like I could patterns just worked.
Really?
Yeah. And then when I went back to my natural color, it just wasn't as strong.
We've never talked about this, and it's very interesting.
And I like patterns on patterns. Love that.
That's cool. If you have the ability to like do that well, that's amazing. It's not a thing a lot of people have.
It goes with that idea of like, you know how I'm like, oh, I think things should
Yes.
clash.
Yeah.
Dresses with sweatpants. It goes with that.
Does anybody feel any obligation to talk about War and Peace?
Ah. Yeah, we should.
Okay.
Such as depression can cause an unconscious statement due to the lack of drive at the depths of such a state.
Do you want to read it out loud or no?
I don't know what he's saying. Maintaining. I don't know what you're saying, Mansa Musa. I'll read this after.
Do the comments get saved?
I think so.
Oh.
Or something. Really to go through the motions. Well, okay. Yeah, he's talking about clothing. That's true. Shameful.
Oh,
I was just assuming.
so gendered.
I know. I think there's more men on YouTube, and I don't know why. Do you have an opinion?
No, I don't, actually.
I don't know.
I believe that there are more men in the comments on YouTube or anywhere else.
Ah, yes.
But in terms of viewership, I'm not sure.
Well.
I used to just never comment on anything ever.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason in the quarantine, I've like started commenting on stuff.
Hey.
And it's really unfulfilling. Like I hate it, and I'm going back to never saying anything.
Why is it unfulfilling?
Because I told you that Leighton lost my jokes.
Oh. I think there's a lot of that with the comments.
I
It's
cannot
like,
abide.
and then there's nothing.
I cannot abide my jokes not being appreciated. I have to go somewhere and weep.
That's why I wake up in the morning and she's working out. I hear fast feet and sobbing.
And
That's all I
weeping.
hear.
That would be so great. That would be so great. Actually, I am ecstatic.
Mhm.
I am in ecstasy.
Yeah.
That freaking dance class
Yeah.
just makes it like, you know how people are like, oh, ecstatic dance. That is what I'm doing.
Oh my
I'm
god.
like,
That's so good.
yeah, it is. My face breaks from joy. It just like shatters.
Oh.
Yeah, I love this guy. Have I showed you him?
Mm-mm.
Oh my god, he's so cute.
You should. Okay, send it to me.
Yeah.
War and Peace.
War und Peace.
Now, what did we read yesterday? You don't have to answer this because I know apparently I'm
No, no, no.
throwing you this hot coal every day.
No, it's only because most of the days you've done it. That's
Yeah.
the only reason I notice when it's me.
Mhm.
I can't remember.
It was a lot of
Just yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
We were with Kutuzov for the most part, I want to say.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We met his granddaughter, which was delightful. She didn't have shoes.
That wasn't his granddaughter.
Yes.
No, she just called him that.
Wasn't actually?
No, she was some random peasant girl. This is just
Okay.
house. Oh, yes.
Okay. She calls him granddad.
In her head, though, never out loud.
Oh, okay. That makes more. Oh, I don't know if that makes more sense. I was like, oh yeah, they had it at like his house.
Yeah, his house isn't at the battlefield.
You don't say.
I mean, it could have been in his glorified tent.
Right. Okay. Anyway, so they're at this random house, and there's a little girl. And anyway, it was like from the first person point of view of her, Melissa. Anyway,
Melissa?
Melissa,
Melissa.
you know, yeah. And they were just talking about,
Barbara.
it's like the class. It's the classic like bunch of guys in a room.
Council of War.
There's like 8 different parties, all of which have their own opinion about what should happen.
And everyone's a
And
bag of dicks.
Kutuzov is like, I know what has to happen. We have to give up Moscow.
Yeah, we have to abandon Moscow. So
Mhm.
he does not want to make this decision, but he sees that there's no other option. Because it's either like lose Moscow or it's lose Moscow and a lot of the army trying to defend Moscow. So the Moscow bit seems for him to be an inevitability that the French are going to take it, which I think is what happens. Spoiler.
Ooh. Yeah. So Moscow's gonna burn.
Yeah. So now we're going back to characters after several books of not.
Yeah, there's just a lot about
That's
that.
not the reason I didn't remember right now.
About let's just say what decided the loss of-
moment.
Yeah, when was Moscow lost?
When was Moscow lost?
Can we really pinpoint it?
We can't. Let's try.
Let's talk at length about how we cannot.
We can't, but we can't.
Yeah.
You know what it might have been?
Mhm.
I'm just kidding.
It could have been a tea.
It could have been Napoleon's Gold.
Could have been Napoleon's Gold. Could
Definitely
have been Bennington.
Could have been
Could have
Benson.
been
Could
all
have
these
been
other.
Barclay de Tolly.
Oh, Barclay. Bagration. Why do we lose sight with? I feel like Bagration's like a true hero, and
You
we
do?
just I don't know for whatever reason he was always presented as like kind of like a more knightly general.
He's like competent.
That's
People
probably
won't
it.
like blatantly talking shit about
Right.
him right
Yeah.
to his face. Which
Whatever happened to Fuel?
is Fuel.
You know,
His plan was rejected.
was it rejected in the end?
Yeah.
Oh, so
There was that weird council type meeting.
Yeah.
Where Fuel's whole plan of attack was food. It was food.
it was good.
Was it? Did you like
I
it?
like that.
Because I didn't like myself.
But I also laughed extra hard because I know what happens when I don't laugh.
What?
Hmm?
What does? What does?
The weeping,
Uh,
which usually does happen after we end the live stream too.
every live stream. Oh God. Yeah. That's really funny. So yeah.
That's where we are. Book 11, chapter 6. Helena. Do we remember her? That's Pierre's wife. Yes.
The stupid one.
The slutty one.
The idiot.
The one with, I think she's quite bosomy.
She's a total waste of space.
Is she a waste of space? Or she's just such a socialite?
Waste of space.
Right. Helena, having returned from the court from Vilna to Petersburg, found herself in a difficult position. That's an innuendo. Anyway.
Almost definitely. She's very hoary. In Petersburg, she had enjoyed the special protection of a grandee who occupied one of the highest posts in the empire. In Vilna, she had formed an intimacy with a young foreign prince. When she returned to Petersburg, both the magnate and the prince were there, and both claimed their rights. Helena was faced with a new problem: how to preserve her intimacy with both without offending either.
What would have seemed difficult or impossible to another woman did not cause the least embarrassment to Countess Bezhukova, who evidently deserved her reputation of being a very clever woman. Had she attempted concealment or tried to extricate herself from her awkward position by cunning, she would have spoiled her case by acknowledging herself guilty. But Helena, like a really great man who can do whatever he pleases, at once assumed her own position to be correct, as she sincerely believed it to be, and that everyone else was to blame.
The first time the young foreigner allowed himself to reproach her, she lifted her beautiful head and, half turning to him, said firmly, "That's just like a man, selfish and cruel. I expect nothing else. A woman sacrifices herself for you, she suffers, and this is her reward. What right have you, Monseigneur, to demand an account of my attachments and friendships? He is a man who has been more than a father to me." The prince was about to say something, but Helena interrupted him.
"Well, yes," said she. "It may be that he has other sentiments for me than those of a father, but that is not a reason for me to shut my door on him. I am not a man that I should repay kindness with ingratitude. No, Monseigneur, that all that relates to my intimate feelings I render account only to God and to my conscience," she concluded, laying her hand on her beautiful, fully expanded bosom and looking up to heaven.
"But for heaven's sake, listen to me."
"Marry me and I will be your slave."
"But that's impossible."
"You won't deign to demean yourself by marrying me, you," said Helena, beginning to cry.
The prince tried to comfort her, but wait, who's?
I don't know.
So Helena was the one who said, "Marry me and I will be your
I
slave"?
think so.
This is so confusing. The prince tried to comfort her, but Helena, as if quite distraught, said through her tears that there was nothing to prevent her marrying, that there were precedents. That there were precedents. There were up to that time very few, but she mentioned Napoleon and some other exalted personages, that she had never been her husband's wife and that she had been sacrificed.
"But the law, religion," said the prince, already yielding.
"The law, religion, what have they been invented for if they can't arrange that?" said Helena.
The prince was surprised that so simple an idea had not occurred to him, and he applied for advice to the holy brethren of the Society of Jesus, with whom he was on intimate terms.
A few days later, at one of those enchanting fetes which Helena gave at her country house on the Stone Island, the charming Monsieur de Jobert, a man no longer young, with snow-white hair and brilliant black eyes, a Jesuit, a robe... What?
Quote. Short
But what is this sentence? A Jesuit, a robe court, was presented to her. Jesuit?
A robe court, like a short robe Jesuit.
Okay. Why did we just go into French just now for that?
Yes.
Okay. And in the garden, by the light of the illuminations, and to the sound of music, talked to her for a long time of the love of God, of Christ, of the Sacred Heart, and of the consolations the one true Catholic religion affords in this world and the next. Helena was touched, and more than once tears rose to her eyes and to those of Monsieur de Jobert, and their voices trembled. A dance, for which her partner came to seek her, put an end to her discourse with her future director of conscience. But the next evening, Monsieur de Jobert came to see Helena when she was alone, and after that, often came again.
Oh. A Jesuit occult is a lay member of the Society of Jesus. Anyway.
Okay, thank you.
One day, he took the Countess to a Roman Catholic church, where she knelt down before the altar to which she was led. The enchanting middle-aged Frenchman laid his hands on her head, and, as she herself afterward described it, she felt something like a fresh breeze wafted into her soul. It was explained to her that this was la grâce.
After that, a long-frocked abbey was brought to her. Everyone's finding God these days. She confessed to him, and he absolved her from her sins. Next day, she received a box containing the sacred host, which was left at her house for her to partake of. A few days later, Helena learned with pleasure that she had now been admitted to the true Catholic Church, and that in a few days, the Pope himself would hear of her and would send her a certain document.
All that was done around her and to her at this time, all the attention devoted to her by so many clever men and expressed in such pleasant, refined ways, and the state of dove-like purity she was now in, she wore only white dresses and white ribbons all that time, gave her pleasure, but her pleasure did not cause her for a moment to forget her aim. And as it always happens in contests of cunning that a stupid person gets the better of cleverer ones, Helena, having realized that the main object of all these words and all this trouble was, after converting her to Catholicism, to obtain money from her for Jesuit institutions, as to which she received indications, before parting with her money, insisted that the various operations necessary to free her from her husband should be performed. In her view, the aim of every religion was merely to preserve certain proprieties while affording satisfaction to human desires. And with this aim, in one of her talks with her father confessor, she insisted on an answer to the question, in how far was she bound by her marriage?
They were sitting in the twilight by a window in the drawing room. The scent of flowers came in at the window. Helena was wearing a white dress, transparent over her shoulders and bosom. The abbé, a well-fed man with a plump, clean-shaven chin, a pleasant, firm mouth, and white hands meekly folded on his knees, sat close to Helena and, with a subtle smile on his lips and a peaceful look of delight at her beauty, occasionally glanced at her face as he explained his opinion on the subject. Helena, with an uneasy smile, looked at his curly hair and his plump, clean-shaven, blackish cheeks, and every moment expected the conversation to take a fresh turn. But the abbé, though he evidently enjoyed the beauty of his companion, was absorbed in his mastery of the matter.
The course of the father confessor's arguments ran as follows. Ignorant of the import of what you were undertaking, you made a vow of conjugal fidelity to a man who, on his part, by entering the married state without faith in the religious significance of marriage, committed an act of sacrilege. That marriage lacked the dual significance it should have had. Yet, in spite of this, your vow was binding. You swerved from it. What did you commit by so acting? A venial or a mortal sin? A venial sin, for you acted without evil intention. If now you married again with the object of bearing children, your sin might be forgiven. But the question is again a twofold one. Firstly,
but suddenly, Helena, who was getting bored, said with one of her bewitching smiles, "But I think that having espoused the true religion, I cannot be bound by what a false religion laid upon me."
The director of her conscience was astounded at having the case presented to him thus with the simplicity of Columbus's egg. He was delighted at the unexpected rapidity of his pupil's progress, but could not abandon the edifice of argument he had laboriously constructed.
"Let us understand one another, Countess," said he with a smile, and began refuting his spiritual daughter's arguments.
End of chapter 6. Great.
You seem unfulfilled.
I am. What a strange little chapter.
Yeah.
Chapter 7.
Chapters mean nothing.
I know.
Just like everything else in life.
It's true.
Where
does one thing start and the other thing end?
It's completely arbitrary. I'm shocked that he doesn't change chapters mid-sentence.
That'd be really good, actually.
Maybe it was just like too avant-garde because this was a while ago.
Yeah. Just wasn't quite. quite there yet.
Just wasn't quite ready for it. Chapter 37. 37?
7
Chapter 307?
minus 300.
300. See, we both know math really well. We're both very facile with it. She actually might be. Helena understood that the question was very simple and easy from the ecclesiastical point of view, and that her directors were making difficulties only because they were apprehensive as to how the matter would be regarded by the secular authorities.
So she decided that it was necessary to prepare the opinion of society. She provoked the jealousy of the elderly magnate and told him that she had told her other suitor what she had told her other suitor. That is, she put the matter so that the only way for him to obtain a right over her was to marry her. The elderly magnate was at first as much taken aback by the suggestion of marriage with a woman whose husband was alive as the younger man had been, but Helena's imperturbable conviction that it was as simple and natural as marrying a maiden had its effect on him too. Had Helena herself shown the least sign of hesitation, shame, or secrecy, her cause would certainly have been lost. But not only did she show no signs of secrecy or shame, on the contrary, with good-natured naivete, she told her intimate friends, and these were all Petersburg, that both the prince and the magnate had proposed to her, and that she loved both and was afraid of grieving either.
A rumor immediately spread in Petersburg, and not that Helena wanted to be divorced from her husband. Had such a report spread, many would have opposed so illegal an intention, but simply that the unfortunate and interesting Helena was in no doubt she was in no doubt which of the two men she should marry. The question was no longer whether this was possible, but only which was the better match and how the matter would be regarded at court. There were, it is true, some rigid individuals unable to rise to the height of such a question, who saw in the project a desecration of the sacrament of marriage. But there were not many such. But there were not many such. My brain just broke. And they remained silent, while the majority were interested in Helena's good fortune and in the question which match would be more advantageous. Whether it was right or wrong to remarry while one had a husband living, they did not discuss. For that question had evidently been settled by people, quote, wiser than you or me, as they said. And to doubt the correctness of that decision would be to risk exposing one's stupidity and incapacity to live in society. That's a lot. That's a lot to expose.
Yeah, definitely.
We expose our stupidity on a daily basis.
Yeah,
Here.
quite shamelessly.
Pretty shamelessly.
That is the trick to it. Just have no shame about it. And then people be like, oh, I guess it's okay not to know that really crucial thing.
I love that whenever Tolstoy talks about major events and major outcomes of the Napoleonic War, one of us is like, oh, spoiler.
And we're actually like,
we're dunces. We're history dunces.
yeah. I think we've talked about history.
Yes.
I've just never been interested in it.
I think we've talked about history, mostly how it's stupid.
But also, it's all about battles. It's all about battles and wars.
You sound like
Pretty
Tolstoy.
much. But it is. That's how history is presented. It's like, and then there was this war, and then there was this battle, and then there was this battle. I remember,
Really,
like,
I don't think of it like a...
there was a hell of a lot of that.
Yes,
in terms
there is
of-
a lot of that.
And it felt like those were the important things to know. It was like, when was there a war? And, you know, I'm a lady. I don't like the action sequences.
You don't? I'm very into action sequences. Since our discussion about action sequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten so into it that I am watching Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan
Are you?
on Amazon.
That's why you asked me.
What did I ask you?
Numi.
Oh, yeah.
Numai?
It's safe to say it's new, whatever else follows it.
No.
No. New. No. I think it's new.
No. Okay.
I'm
We'll
gonna
go
say
new.
it's new.
Okay.
Mirabas. I don't know. I don't know how you say the rest.
New. you
I don't know how you
squeeze
say
the
it.
other two parts together. New. Murapashi.
Rabashi. Is that how you say it? Has anyone ever said her name right in the
I was just trying with like an Italian C. I don't know.
Because she's so Italian.
Obviously. No, she's so Scandinavian.
Wouldn't it necessitate two C's or no? Maybe not.
No, isn't one? No, I'm not sure. I thought it was one C was a ch.
We're also both linguists.
What do you think it is? Rapace?
Do you even know who we're talking about? The girl who kicked the
Rapacy.
nest. The girl who did things.
If only there was some means for us to know.
There isn't.
There's nothing.
We'll just speculate into the void.
I really hope we meet her one day and go,
And
no, Mira.
No! She'll be like, what? It'll be like a who's on first type thing. No.
No, my.
Abort.
No, my rap. No, my rap.
Apache.
No.
No mere. Apache. This is so stupid.
It's good though.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did.
How many tribes can you name?
Tribes?
Yeah, like Apache.
Cree.
That's a second. That is one. I was so horrified that the citizenship test
Yeah,
required you to only be able to name one Indian tribe.
that's pretty bad.
And it was like, here are all the acceptable answers, 27 of them. And of course, I was like, I will learn them all.
Mm-hmm. Did you?
No! I did learn a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say them.
At
now.
one point, I think I knew a bunch.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With the rest of history.
Right. No, because I had to learn a lot of those that's in I want to say elementary school. Yeah, because we had to learn all about the Native Americans. That's also why it was like a lot about.
Do you
wars.
call them Native Canadians up there?
No, we should, but no, they're Native Americans or First Nations. Actually,
Yeah.
that's more what we call them.
I think it should be First. Well,
First Nations.
First Nations is probably.
Yeah, that actually sounds.
It's probably the best.
more-
Okay. Are we doing this?
Only Maria Dmitrievna. Wait, I forgot about her.
No, we don't know this person.
Oh, it's a different Maria Dmitrievna. Maria Dmitrievna Akrosimova had come to Petersburg that summer to see one of her sons.
Although there people get called all different things.
That's true.
Who knows?
Allowed herself plainly to express an opinion contrary to the general one. Meeting Helena at a ball, she stopped her in the middle of the room and, amid general silence, said in her gruff voice, "So wives of living men have started marrying again. Perhaps you think you have invented a novelty? You have been forestalled, my dear. It was thought of long ago. It was done in all the brothels."
Oh!
And with those words, Maria Dmitrievna, turning up her wide sleeves with her usual threatening gesture. Imagine. What do you think she...
Turning up her what?
I don't know what she's doing. Turning up her what?
Threatening gesture.
And glancing sternly round, moved across the room.
Though people were afraid of Maria Dmitrievna, she was regarded in Petersburg as a buffoon. And so of what she had said, they only noticed and repeated in a whisper the one coarse word she had used, supposing the whole sting of her remark to lie in that word. It's true.
Prince Vasily, who of late very often forgot what he had said, and repeated one and the same thing 100 times, remarked to his daughter, whenever he chanced to see her,
"Helena, I have a word to say to you." And he would lead her aside, drawing her hand downward. Can you picture it now? Because I remember for a while you were like, I don't know what you're saying.
It's so. It sounds weird.
It does sound weird. I have heard of certain projects concerning, you know. Well, my dear child, you know how your father's heart rejoices to know that you have suffered so much. My dear child, consult only your own heart. That is all I have to say. And concealing his unvarying emotion, he would press his cheek against his daughter's and move away.
Bilibin, who had not lost his reputation of an exceedingly clever man, and who was one of the disinterested friends, so brilliant a woman as Helena always has men friend. Wait, what?
I love these sentences.
And who was one of the disinterested friends.
One of the disinterested.
One of the disinterested friends. So brilliant a woman as Helena always has men friends who can never change into lovers once gave her his view of the matter at a small and intimate gathering.
Do you know what's happened in this paragraph? Bilibin, who had not lost his reputation of an exceedingly clever man and who was one of the disinterested friends, it just says one of the.
Oh, mine has one of the disinterested men.
Okay, that's typo.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, one of the.
Yeah, okay.
And who was one of the disinterested friends, so brilliant a woman as Helena always has. Men friends who can never change into lovers.
One of the disinterested friends, so brilliant a woman as Helena always has men friends who can never change into lovers, once gave his view of the matter at a small and intimate gathering.
Men friends who can never change into lovers.
That should be like its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Bilibin, said Helena. She always called friends of that sort by their surnames. Oh, that's his surname. And she touched his coat sleeve with her white, beringed fingers. Tell me, as you would a sister, what ought to do? What I ought to do? Which of the two?
Bilibin wrinkled up the skin over his eyebrows and pondered with a smile on his lips.
You are not taking me unawares, you know, said he. As a true friend, I have thought and thought again about your affair. You see, if you marry the prince, he meant the younger one, and he crooked one finger, you forever lose the chance of marrying the other. And you will displease the court. Besides, you know there is some kind of connection. But if you marry the old count, you will make his last days happy, and as widow of the grand, the prince would no longer be making a mésalliance. What is that? Mésalliance? By marrying you. And Bilibin smoothed out his forehead.
That's a true friend, said Helena, beaming and again touching Bilibin's sleeve. But I love them, you know, and don't want to distress either of them. I would give my life for the happiness of them both.
Bilibin shrugged his shoulders, as much as to say that not even he could help in that difficulty.
Une maîtresse femme. Okay.
Which is?
A masterly woman. That's what is called putting things squarely. She would like to be married to all three at the same time, thought he.
But tell me, how will your husband look at the matter? Bilibin asked, his reputation being so well established that he did not fear to ask so naive a question. Will he agree?
Oh, he loves me so, said Helena, who for some reason imagined that Pierre too loved her. Stupid woman. He will do anything for me.
Bilibin puckered his skin in preparation for something witty.
Even divorce you? Said he.
Helena laughed.
Among those who ventured to doubt the justifiability of the proposed marriage was Helena's mother, Princess Kuragina. She was continually tormented by jealousy of her daughter, and now that jealousy considered a subject near to her own heart. Yeah?
I remember her being jealous of her daughter.
Okay.
Oh, it was so annoying.
She could not reconcile herself to the idea. She consulted a Russian priest as to the possibility of divorce and remarriage during a husband's lifetime, and the priest told her that it was impossible. And to her delight, showed her a text in the gospel which, as it seemed to him, plainly remarriage while the husband forbids her. Oh.
Really?
Yeah. This is a bit screwed up.
Okay.
Forbids remarriage while the husband is alive.
Armed with these arguments, which appeared to her unanswerable, she drove to her daughter's early one morning so as to find her alone.
Having listened to her mother's objections, Helena smiled blandly and ironically.
But it says plainly, whosoever shall marry her, that is divorced, said the old princess.
Ah, maman, ne dites pas des bêtises. Vous ne comprenez rien. Dans ma position, j'ai des devoirs. Mama, don't talk nonsense. You don't understand anything. In my position, I have obligations, said Helena, changing from Russian, in which language she always felt that her case did not sound quite clear, into French, which suited it better.
But my dear,
Oh, Mama, how is it that you don't understand that the Holy Father, who has the right to grant dispensations...
Just then the lady companion who lived with Helena came in to announce that His Highness was in the ballroom and wished to see her.
Non, dites-lui que je ne veux pas le voir, que je suis furieuse contre lui parce qu'il m'a manqué parole. No, tell him I don't wish to see him. I'm furious with him for not keeping his word to me.
Comtesse, as-tu pêche miséricorde, said a fair-haired young man. Do you want to...
Countess, there's mercy for every sin,
said a fair-haired young man with a long face and nose as he entered the room.
The old princess rose respectfully.
With a long face and nose as he entered the room. Sorry, I read that so weird. It's like he entered with a nose.
The old princess rose respectfully and curtsied. The young man who had entered took no notice of her. The princess nodded to her daughter and sidled out of the room.
The old princess rose respectfully and curtsied. The young man had entered, took no notice of her.
I just said that.
What? You just read that.
Yeah.
My brain broke.
Oh my God. For a second I was like, did I say it?
Sidled out of the room.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I did?
Yeah.
I was looking away and then both of those paragraphs end with the room. See that?
Oh, you're right.
That's why I did that. Yes, she is right, thought the old princess, all her convictions dissipated by the appearance of His Highness. She is right, but how it is that we in our irrevocable youth did not know it, yet it is so simple, she thought as she got into her carriage.
By the beginning of August, Helena's affairs were clearly defined, and she wrote a letter to her husband who, as she imagined, loved her very much.
She's serious?
Informing him of her intention to marry N.N., and of her having embraced the one true faith, and asking him to carry out all the formalities necessary for a divorce, which would be explained to him by the bearer of the letter.
And so I pray God to have you, my friend, in His holy and powerful keeping. Your friend, Helena.
This letter was brought to Pierre's house when he was on the field of Borodino. So he didn't get the letter.
And basically, both of the Kurgans are trying to marry multiple people.
Pretty much.
That is what Anatoly was doing. He was like, I forgot the old wife. I need a new wife. And that's exactly what she's doing.
Yeah.
Okay, are we, chapter 8?
Yeah.
Chapter 8. Toward the end of the Battle of Borodino, Pierre, having run down from Raevski's battery a second time, made his way through a gully to Knyazkovo with a crowd of soldiers, reached the dressing station, and seeing blood and hearing cries and groans, hurried on, still entangled in the crowds of soldiers.
The one thing he now desired... Okay.
Yeah, he's such a dumbass. He's just like lost. It's like a 8-year-old lost at a fete.
Very much. He's such a baby lamb. Yeah. The one thing he now desired with his whole soul was to get away quickly from the terrible sensations amid which he had lived that day, and return to ordinary conditions of life, and sleep quietly in a room in his own bed. He felt that only in the ordinary conditions of life would he be able to understand himself and all he had seen and felt. But such ordinary conditions of life were nowhere to be found.
Though shells and bullets did not whistle over the road along which he was going, still on all sides there was what there had been on the field of battle. There was still the same suffering, exhausted and sometimes strangely indifferent faces, the same blood, the same soldiers' overcoats, the same sounds of firing, which, though distant now, still aroused terror. And besides this, there were the foul air and the dust.
Having gone a couple of miles along the Mozhaysk road, Pierre sat down by the roadside.
Dusk had fallen, and the roar of guns died away. Pierre lay leaning on his elbow for a long time, gazing at the shadows that moved past him in the darkness. He was continually imagining that a cannonball was flying toward him with a terrific whiz, and then he shuddered and sat up. He had no idea how long he had been there. In the middle of the night, 3 soldiers, having brought some firewood, settled down near him and began lighting a fire.
The soldiers, who threw sidelong glances at Pierre, got the fire to burn and placed an iron pot on it, into which they broke some dried bread and put a little dripping. The pleasant odor of greasy viands mingled with the smell of smoke. Pierre sat up and sighed. The 3 soldiers were eating and talking among themselves, taking no notice of him.
And who may you be? One of them asked Pierre suddenly, evidently meaning what Pierre himself had in mind, namely, if you want to eat, we'll give you some food, only let us know whether you are an honest man.
I, said Pierre, feeling it necessary to minimize his social position as much as possible so as to be nearer to the soldiers and better understood by them. By rights, I am a militia officer, but my men are not here. I came to the battle and have lost them.
There now, said one of his soldiers.
Another shook his head.
Would you like a little mash? The first soldier asked and handed Pierre a wooden spoon after licking it clean.
Pierre sat down by the fire and began eating the mash, as they called the food in the cauldron, and he thought it more delicious than any food he had ever tasted. As he sat bending greedily over it, helping himself to large spoonfuls and chewing one after another, his was lit up by the fire, and the soldiers looked at him in silence.
Where have you to go to? Tell us, said one of them.
To Mozhaisk.
You're a gentleman, aren't you?
Yes.
And what is your name?
Peter Kirillich.
Well then, Peter Kirillich, come along with us. We'll take you there.
In the total darkness, the soldiers walked with Pierre to Mozhaisk.
By the time they got near Mozhaisk and began ascending the steep hill into the town, the cocks were already crowing. Pierre went on with the soldiers, quite forgetting that his inn was at the bottom of the hill and that he had already passed it. He would not soon have remembered this, such was his state of forgetfulness, had he not halfway up the hill stumbled upon his groom, who had been to look for him in the town and was returning to the inn. The groom recognized Pierre in the darkness by his white hat.
So bad.
Tell
That's
us.
pretty impressive that he held on to his hat.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. And that it's still white.
It's
It's insane because they keep talking about how much dust there is.
Yeah. Your Excellency, he said. Why, we are beginning to despair. How is it you are on foot? And where are you going, please?
Please. Oh, yes, said Pierre.
Soldier stopped.
So you found your folk, said one of them. Well, goodbye, Peter Kirillich, isn't it?
Goodbye, Peter Kirillich. Pierre heard the other voices repeat.
Goodbye, he said, and turned with his groom toward the inn.
Oh my gosh.
Why are you?
Such a baby duckling.
He just
You're like,
started to follow someone
Where's
else.
your mama? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll take you to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me pass him off to the ground. I ought to give them something, he thought, and felt in his pocket. No, better not, said another in her voice.
I like that. There was not a room to be had at the inn. They were all occupied. Pierre went out into the yard and, covering himself up, head and all, lay down in his carriage.
Hmm.
End of chapter.
It's not a tough day.
Oh.
And actually, I like how he just starts eating. He's like, I need comfort food, pretty much.
Yeah, it was like mash. I love mash. I thought he had a room at the inn.
Yeah,
Didn't they just say that? That's where
Yeah.
his inn was, or something?
yeah. There was not a room to be had at the end. I don't know. That's true.
Like, where was his groom going? Okay. Una más?
Chapter 9.
Wow, good Spanish.
Oh my gosh, I know. Thanks. I've been working on that. Chapter 9. Scarcely had Pierre laid his head on the pillow before he felt himself falling asleep. But suddenly, almost with the distinctness of reality, he heard the boom, boom, boom of firing, the thud of projectiles, groans and cries, and smelled blood and powder, and a feeling of horror and dread of death seized him. Filled with fright, he opened his eyes and lifted his head from under his cloak. All was tranquil in the yard. Only someone's orderly passed through the gateway, splashing through the mud, and talked to the innkeeper. Above Pierre's head, some pigeons, disturbed by the movement he had made in sitting up, fluttered under the dark roof of the penthouse. News carriage.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The whole courtyard was permeated by a strong, peaceful smell of stable yards, delightful to Pierre at that moment. He could see the clear, starry sky between the dark roofs of two penthouses.
Thank God there is no more of that, he thought, covering up his head again. Oh, what a terrible thing is fear, and how shamefully I yielded to it. But they were steady and calm all the time, to the end, thought he.
They, in Pierre's mind, were the soldiers,
Okay.
those who had been at the battery, those who had given him food, and those who had prayed before the icon. They, those strange men he had not previously known, stood out clearly and sharply from everyone else.
To be a soldier, just a soldier, thought Pierre as he fell asleep. To enter communal life completely, to be imbued by what makes them what they are. But how cast off all the superfluous, devilish burden of my outer man? What? Is that a sentence?
But how cast off all the, yeah,
How cast off my burden? Of the
Yeah.
burden of my outer.
yeah.
That doesn't sound like a full sentence. There was a time when I could have run away from my father as I wanted to. What father?
Apparently he wanted to run away from his father.
Okay. Or I might have been sent to serve as a soldier after the duel with Dolokhov. And the memory of the dinner at the English club when he had challenged Dolokhov flashed through Pierre's mind. And then he remembered his benefactor at Torjok. And now a picture of a solemn meeting of the lodge presented itself in his mind. It was taking place at the English club, and someone near and dear to him sat at the end of the table. Yes, that is he. It is my benefactor, but he died, thought Pierre. Yes, he died. It's like he's tripping,
Okay.
right? Yes, he died, and I did not know he was alive. What? He died, and I did not know he was alive? How sorry I am that he died, and how glad I am that he is alive again. What the shit is going on? On one side of the table sat Anatoly, Dolokhov, Nesvitsky, Denisov, and others like them. In his dream, the category to which these men belonged was as clearly defined in his mind as the category of those he termed they. And he heard those people, Anatoly and Dolokhov, shouting and singing loudly. Yet through their shouting, the voice of his benefactor was heard speaking all the time, and the sound of his words was as weighty and uninterrupted as the booming on the battlefield, but pleasant and comforting. Pierre did not understand what his benefactor was saying, but he knew the categories of thoughts were also quite distinct in his dream. Okay? That he was talking of goodness and the possibility of being what they were. And they, with their simple, kind, firm faces, surrounded his benefactor on all sides. But though they were kindly, they did not look at Pierre and did not know him. Wishing to speak and to attract their attention, he got up. But at that moment, his legs grew cold and bare. That's the end of my paragraph.
Oh, okay. He sorry. Apparently there's some problems with my version. He felt ashamed and with one arm covered his legs from which his cloak had in fact slipped. For a moment, as he was rearranging his cloak, Pierre opened his eyes and saw the same penthouse roofs, posts, and yard, but now they were all bluish, lit up, and glittering with frost or dew.
It is dawn, thought Pierre. But that's not what I want. I want to hear and understand my benefactor's words. Again he covered himself up with his cloak, but now neither the lodge nor his benefactor was there. There were only thoughts clearly expressed in words, thoughts that someone was uttering or that he himself was formulating.
Afterwards, when he recalled those thoughts, Pierre was convinced that someone outside himself had spoken them, though the impressions of that day had evoked them. He had never, it seemed to him, been able to think and express his thoughts like that when awake.
To endure war is the most difficult subordination of man's freedom to the law of God, the voice had said. Simplicity is submission to the will of God. You cannot escape from him, and they are simple. They do not talk, but act. The spoken word is silver, but the unspoken is golden. Man can be master of nothing while he fears death, but he who does not fear it possesses all. If there were no suffering, man would not know his limitations, would not know himself. The hardest thing, Pierre went on thinking or hearing in his dream, is to be able in your soul to unite the meaning of all. To unite all, he asked himself. No, not to unite. Thoughts cannot be united, but to harness all these thoughts together is what we need. Yes, one must harness them. Must harness them. He repeated to himself with inward rapture, feeling that these words and they alone expressed what he wanted to say and solved the question that tormented him.
Yes, one must harness. It is time to harness.
Time to harness. Time to harness. That it seriously keeps going.
Yeah.
Time to harness. Time to harness, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, some voice was repeating. You wake up. We must harness. It is time to harness.
It was the voice
Yeah.
of the groom
Yeah.
trying to wake him. The sun shone straight into Pierre's face. He glanced at the dirty inn yard, in the middle of which soldiers were watering
I
their
don't know what
lean
the
horses.
fuck that was, but it was so great.
He glanced at the dirty inn yard, in the middle of which soldiers were watering their lean horses at the pump, while carts were passing out of the gate. Pierre turned away with repugnance, and closing his eyes, quickly fell back on the carriage seat. No, I don't want that. I don't want to see and understand that. I want to understand what was revealing itself to me in my dream. 1 second more, and I should have understood it all. What am I to do? Harness. How can I harness everything? And Pierre felt with horror that the meaning of all he had seen and thought in the dream had been destroyed.
This has totally happened to me before.
Yeah, me too.
The groom, the coachman, and the innkeeper told Pierre that an officer had come with news that the French were already near Mojaisk and that our men were leaving it.
Pierre got up and, having told them to harness and overtake them, went on foot through the town.
The troops were moving on, leaving about 10,000 wounded behind them. There were wounded in the yards, at the windows of the houses, and the streets were crowded with them. In the streets, around carts that were to take some of the wounded away, shouts, curses, and blows could be heard. Pierre offered the use of his carriage, which had overtaken him, to a wounded general he knew, and drove with him to Moscow. On the way, Pierre was told of the death of his brother-in-law Anatoly, and of that of Prince Andrew.
Okay.
What?
What? I don't know.
Okay, it might not be real news.
But that's already happened once before.
What?
That they thought Prince Andrew was dead and then he wasn't.
Correct.
Can that happen twice?
Why not?
I mean, I guess it can.
It's War and Peace. I hope that's what's happening because I don't feel so good.
If that's how we find out, yeah. And also,
Did you think he was gonna die? I really did
no,
not.
I didn't. No, not at all. I mean, the doctor did kiss him on the lips.
The kiss of death.
Mhm. I don't know.
Okay, I feel like a main character just died with no warning. I mean, he was wounded, but
I don't know. Think he's dead?
I don't know what's happening here.
I hope he's not dead.
Me too. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't want it.
I can see him doing that.
Yeah, of course.
And like also revealing it in that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Comments from earlier about one. Hang on, this is a little bit intense. Do you realize that I got a email today, by the way, from my accountant saying that he's dead?
Today?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
I mean, yeah, I didn't like know him.
Yeah.
Like I started doing my taxes there when when it was his dad's business.
Mhm.
The son took over
Right.
and was like in his 40s or something.
Yeah.
And I used to gripe about the fact that he wasn't as good as his dad.
Okay.
And like I kept needing to find a new accountant and then just never haven't done it yet. And then I got a email from the office today being like, it was like from Mike Parisi tax service being like, we are really sorry to inform you of the death of Mike Parisi. Yeah.
He died from it?
Coronavirus. Yes. Anyway, Prince Andrew may also be dead. It's such a weird, to me, it's like one of the weirdest people in my life.
Yeah, that's so.
Like, I don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah.
My mom was like more upset than me, I think. That's as far as it can be from me
Right.
while still being
Being
a
connected.
person.
Yeah. Like my accountant. It's not like usually someone you have a close relationship to, but you still have a relationship.
Mhm. It would be like the guy from Palm. I hope he's okay. The Palm Tires guy, Jeff, the tire shop. It did just get dark, but this whole shit, life is a bit dark
Yeah.
suddenly.
I remember that happened to my parents. I
What?
think I told you that their accountant died.
I
But
was
it didn't
wondering.
die of corona. Yeah.
I was wondering because when it happened, I was like, "This feels feels
I
familiar."
think I told you that.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't remember if I had made a fugly joke about it or something horrible.
Right.
But yeah, no, I remember that.
Hmm.
Who's the book gonna be about?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
And is it the case that I don't know why accountants? Is it the case that the only way for Natasha and Pierre to get together is for both of those others to have died?
I guess so.
Because short of that, I'm not following.
I don't know.
Maybe he's not dead. He might not be dead.
Maybe he's not. I don't think we're gonna find out for a really long time.
Are you serious?
I don't know. I feel like
No, I
he
think
just
you're
dropped a
right.
bomb and he's not gonna comfort us at all.
Cool.
Like now I want to skip ahead and look for his name, but I'm not gonna do that.
I know, I almost did.
You know, I think I've talked about this before. In Harry Potter. No, it's like the most upset I've ever been in my life, maybe. No, not in my life, but it was upsetting. In the 5th book,
Spoiler.
yeah, if you haven't read Harry Potter,
Don't bother
in the
now.
5th book, fucking Sirius Black dies. Do you remember what happens?
No.
I know you've seen the movies, right?
I
Have you seen
remember
all
that
the
what's
movies?
his name played Sirius Black.
Oh, what is his name?
I fucking love that guy. Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Oldman.
Yeah.
Oldman. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great.
I literally don't recognize him in movies.
I know. How does he do that?
He's great.
So the way he dies is so fugly, and especially when you're reading it, or at least whatever, my like child self is reading it, and there's like a big battle, and the way he dies is he literally walks through a door. He like there's this door because they're in the Ministry of Magic, and there's this door that you cannot pass through. No one knows what's on the other side of it. It's kind of like this portal of death or like this black hole, like they don't know what is through it.
But then
if you go through it,
what
you
if he's not
disappear.
dead?
He's dead. He doesn't
So-
have, he's dead.
What's
Because
her-
I think you also like see his ghost at some point. And so there's like this big battle, and literally he just falls through the door. And it's so unsatisfying as a death, where I was like, wait, what just happened? And I remember like I had to go back and reread it and reread it and reread it because it made no sense. And even like structurally, I was so pissed off because Harry has no one in the world. Like he has his friends, but he has no family. And there was so much of like a buildup.
was
like-
he family?
Well, so he was like his father's. I'm gonna like cry just talking about it. Sirius Black was his father's best friend growing up, and his godfather.
Mhm.
So actually, like when they finally like were together, it was like, oh my god, like Harry has someone looking out for him, and then they kill him, and he's just gone, like poof. This feels like that to me.
My dad is very, very, very bad at spoiling stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning he's very good at spoiling stuff. So it's difficult for me to imagine that he hasn't said something to me
Oh,
about this death.
yeah.
Like he hasn't somehow dropped it.
Mhm.
Maybe he's gotten better at keeping stuff inside, but he's one of those people that like almost always says something and you're like, thanks for ruining it.
Okay. So on that basis, you think he's okay?
He might be.
Anatoly's gone.
I mean, Anatoly, I'm okay if he's gone. I'm okay if he's gone. It's a war. People die.
I don't know. Maybe everyone dies.
It's really troubling to be reading this and know nothing about the book.
What do you mean?
I mean that like anybody who has even passing knowledge of this book probably knows if everyone dies.
Right?
But like I know nothing about it.
Kind of great.
But we're in this weird time capsule because obviously not everybody, but a lot of people know what happens in this book. So we're in
like,
suspense.
You idiots.
Yeah. So we're in this like artificial suspense. Okay.
I think that's really right, though.
What?
I think it's really fitting
What?
that's. I don't know. Regardless of whether he's okay or he isn't, just being like, just finding out in that offhand manner, like that's what it would be like.
Yeah. I mean, because in part that's how Pierre finds out.
Mhm.
And even falling through a door, like that is what happens.
Right?
In the sense that there is no like warning.
Mhm.
And it becomes so obvious if you've ever been in like an accident or something.
Yeah.
But like how something goes from Tuesday to being a major life event
Yeah.
in like
Right.
it's just inconceivable. The difference between someone being here and not here is a door. Is like falling through a fucking door.
Yeah.
If I needle my dad about it, he'll tell me.
I do.
I might needle this Bumble guy. Bum. Oy.
Okay. I think I need some mash.
Me too. Unfortunately, donuts are closed. But you do have Oreos.
I saw. Family size.
That was the only
Ugh.
option.
Yeah.
Like the regular sized ones were like different flavors and like, so I was like, it's better to get the right kind and too many of them, but to get the right amount of wrong ones.
I went to Target today and it was just very weird to see people leisurely looking through clothes.
That's very weird. What were they doing?
Like with the masks on, everyone was wearing a mask. But yeah, is it really time to be
no,
buying a sleisure in Target?
no, no. And if you need it, grab the fucking first thing you see that's in your size and walk out.
Yeah, like you're not trying it on, are you? I'm not sure.
You're probably trying it on. If you're there, like,
Like yeah, like people were very chill. People also like weren't really respecting this, like the 6 feet. I was like, okay, we're close now. Yeah.
there's this seeming thing that like if you're within 6 feet, but just like for a second, it's kind of okay.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. That's what it feels like.
that's what it feels like. But
Like,
in
oh, we're just
reality-
passing each other quickly.
Yeah,
It doesn't make
I
sense, but
I don't think. Like literally, I was like, oh no, I can't get to where I need to in this aisle, so I'm gonna go around.
Yeah.
And come in through the back. That's what I'm doing.
Good.
There's a lot of people in Target today. I mean, granted, I was there, but also driving on the freeway was kind of scary because I think it's been enough time that I've forgotten how to do that. Or at least
I did
like,
notice-
it felt weird. It felt very rusty.
I did notice that like it required more attention, more of my
Yeah.
attention to drive,
Yeah.
which that happened fast.
Right.
I was like, whoa, my driving brain atrophied like this.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't believe I drove for like zero. I mean, I didn't drive for like all those years in New York. It's amazing that I even knew how on the other side.
Yeah.
Will we all be nude when this is over? Vespucci, good point. Oh, it's not Vespucci. I think it's Vespucci.
I'm gonna have to not. I'm not gonna look this up.
Were you gonna look at how
I
many?
mean, it'd be so easy to just be like,
Obviously, this is like I said, this is the stupidest spoiler that's not really happening to anyone except us.
okay, I'm gonna close this. Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
I mean, no. It's not a very good way to end,
I
but
don't know. It's Saturday. I hope everyone's having a great weekend.
me too.
Is there any good news?
Since it's Saturday, don't our friend Mike open late?
Oh.
No, they don't. They aren't. I'm just kidding. Good news, good news, good news. The good news is that Instagram worked.
Hey, that worked. We kind of did that. It's May.
It is May.
Yeah.
Lots of birthdays in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whose birthday?
Emmy's birthday is soon. And a lot of people in this summit group that I'm in, including this one guy who's been doing a lot of the live DJ sets.
Yeah.
He's randomly in this group
Okay.
of like summit / my friend James's like other group that he has.
Okay.
His sister's birthday is soon. And she's gonna like this weekend.
Oh,
And so he's gonna do, I was like, you are best positioned to have a giant birthday party. It's her 40th birthday. And her brother is the one who is D Nice, who's doing all these DJ sets.
yeah.
So he's like throwing a birthday party. I was like, all things considered, that's like you're making out pretty well.
It's a pretty cool birthday.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you are the best positioned to have a birthday party despite not being able to have a birthday party.
Definitely.
You're funny. Who are you funny? Shit. Okay. I'm gonna go eat my feelings. All right. So long, farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, Andrew.